Dear students, today we are going to study a new poem, The Gift of India, written by Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India. Let's know about the poem. The Gift of India is a poignant and patriotic poem by Sarojini Naidu, which praises the sacrifice made by the Indian soldiers in World War I. Dealing with the theme of courage and selfless sacrifice, The Gift of India is also an ode to the unsung heroes, the children of Mother India who laid their lives for others. When the First World War broke out, Britain faced a serious problem. It had a shortage of soldiers to fight against Germany. Thus, it asked its colonies for help. The title here talks of the gift that India bestowed upon Britain during the critical juncture. The poet here takes on the voice of Mother India and talks about the greatest gift that she has bestowed upon the empire, the gift of her sons who have been martyred in faraway lands, fighting an enemy with whom they have no immediate conflict. Let's go to the stanza. Is there aught you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold? Lo, I have flung to the east and west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of duty, the sabers of doom. The first stanza begins with the Mother India asking if there are any more sacrifices left for her to make. She has given the world rich gifts of cloth, food grains, and precious things like gold. India has flung priceless treasures of her land to the countries of the East and the West. Moreover, she has sent her sons, that is, the youth of her land in distant battlegrounds to fight someone else's war. She questions what more can the nations of the world expect her to give them. In order to understand these lines, we must look at India's history, especially the time around which this poem was written. It was 1915, in the middle of the World War I, when India was still under the British rule. A lot of Indian soldiers employed in the British forces fought in the World War for the Allies. The poem can be seen as the poet's homage for these soldiers. Under the British rule, India was exploited for its riches and resources. Here, the poet acknowledges this fact. The very first line of the poem shows India's sentiment of anger and the question, is it not enough that I have given everything? The words sabers of doom especially catch our attention. They represent the nature of the war and the devastation it leaves in its wake. Let's move to the second stanza. Gathered like pearls in their aliens' graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves, scattered like shells on Egyptian sands. They lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. In the second stanza of The Gift of India, the speaker, Mother India, shows the sacrifice of the Indian soldiers from a different angle. These brave soldiers who fought and gave their lives are buried in mass graves in the foreign countries where they died. They were away from their homeland, and even their bodies did not get the comfort of finally resting in their own motherland. The speaker says that they sleep by the Persian waves and scattered like shells on Egyptian sands. The speaker says that these dead soldiers lie with the pale brows and brave broken hands, further intensifying the image of death and devastation. The bodies are scattered like carelessly trimmed flowers in the battlefields of Flanders and France. The poet's use of the words by chance speaks that in her eye the soldiers did not deserve to die. Also, the comparison of the warriors to blossoms signifies how the motherland sees them as valuable human resource. Blood Brown Meadows expresses the horrors of war and war fronts in a rich poetic language. Though completely contrasting with the subject, it poses as an apt metaphor. Moving to the third stanza, can ye measure the grief of the tears I weep, or compass the woe of the watch I keep, or the pride that thrills through my heart's despair, and the hope that comforts the anguish of prayer, and the far sad glorious vision I see of the torn red banners of victory. In the third stanza of The Gift of India, the speaker talks to the foreign countries. She asks them if they can measure her grief and her tears or know her woe, her sufferings when she watches all these. She says that they can never fathom the pride that thrills through her heart in spite of her despair. The poet suggests that the speaker, despite her sadness and deep rooted anguish, is proud of her sons who have fought bravely and brought victory. She gives expression to the voice of countless Indian mothers whose sons have fought in the war. The poet says that the people of the warring nations can never comprehend the small hope that comforts these mothers from the pain of praying for their sons' safety. She asks if they can understand the vision of glory she sees. It is a sad one because she has lost her sons for it. The torn red banners of victory, which has come at the expense of so much blood, is sad and meaningless for her. Moving to the last stanza. When the terror and tumult of hate shall cease, and life be refashioned on anvils of peace, and your love shall offer memorial thanks to the comrades who fought in your dauntless ranks, and you honor the deeds of the deathless ones. Remember the blood of my martyred sons. The last stanza of the poem, the speaker talks about the ensuing peace after the war and the martyrdom of the countless soldiers. The terror and the tumult of hate which was created the war shall end and there will be peace. Life will be refashioned, it will go back to normal with the drastic new changes. People will pay their respects to the dead who fought in the war, the comrades in many ranks who gave their life. They will honor the deeds of those soldiers who will never be forgotten. When such a time of peace comes, the speaker asks that the blood of her martyred sons be remembered as well, that they be honored as well. What is curious here is the poet's use of phrase on anvils of peace. This implies that the process of getting life back to normal will not be an easy one. It comments on the after effects of wars in general. Let's revise the poem.